What's up everybody, this is the Helpful Hacker, and today we're going to be going over the Windows Fundamentals 3 room from TryHackMe. So we'll jump right in and get started with task number 1, introduction. They'll give you a quick intro, kind of talk about the Windows Fundamentals 1 and Windows Fundamentals 2. I have walkthroughs of both of those rooms on my channel, so if you haven't done Windows Fundamentals 1 or Windows Fundamentals 2, I recommend that you do both of those. So you can check that out on my channel, or you can just click the link in the upper right hand side of your screen. That'll take you to the Windows Fundamentals 1 video, and then you should go through all of them. It'll be really helpful and you'll get kind of a better understanding of the basics of Windows. So check those out. Right here they have a nice little summary for us of what those go over. And then basically what this room is going to focus on is it's going to give us an overview of different security features that Windows offers. So then go through, read that. They're going to have you start your machines. I already started both of my machines. I use the browser-based machines, and I have it full screened, opened up in another tab here. You don't have to do that. I believe this is a free room, so even if you're not subscribed, you can just set up your own OpenVPN and connect to this room and deploy this machine. So yeah, if you're not subscribed, you should be, because TryHackMe is awesome. There is a link in the description. If you go to that and subscribe using that link, then you get a $5 credit towards TryHackMe. So check that out. And yeah, read through that, start your machine, and with that you are done with task number 1. Next is going to be task number 2, Windows Update. So basically most people should be semi-familiar with this, because you occasionally do have to update your computer even if you're not into cybersecurity or tech at all. And basically this is just going to walk us through kind of Windows way of doing that. And so yeah, pretty much read through this and then we'll kind of go through on this machine and take a look at it. So basically what they're going to have you do is we'll just do search Windows Update, and we can select Windows Updated settings. So here we go. So this is pretty much what we were seeing on the other page. If we look at that, right, you go to Windows settings. We kind of skipped the settings portion because at this point, if you've done the Windows Fundamentals 1 and 2 room, you just search for stuff. It's quicker and it gets you right to where you want to be. So we're already here, Windows Update. And up here, most people won't have this. We can see this right here because most of the time on your private computer at home, it's not being managed by an organization. If you have a work computer, you might see something like that. Additionally, there's no updates available because this doesn't have internet access, this VM that we're using. So for that reason, there's no updates available, but normally you would just click check for updates. It would go out and check. It would tell you the updates, and then you could choose to install them and restart your computer. And you should always have your devices updated, because more often than not with each update, they give security patches. And they kind of talk about how Microsoft does this on the second Tuesday of each month, and it's called Patch Tuesday. So, and then it explains a little bit about critical patches or updates and how sometimes they'll push out patches other than the second Tuesday of every month. But yeah, you can just read about that, go through it. This is a little example of when a restart's required. Windows will actually eventually force you to restart your computer and to get really critical or important updates. So now down to the question. There are 2 definition updates installed in the attached VM. On what date were these updates installed? So we're here in Windows Updates. We can go view update history. Okay, so that was going really slow, so I had to actually restart the machine. So now that I've done that, let's go back, take a look at Windows Updates. We'll we'll take a look at Windows Update settings. And then the question was, there are 2 definition updates installed in the attached VM. On what date were these updates installed? So if we go to View Update History, we have 2 definition updates, and they were both installed on 5/3/2021. So we'll try that. And that gives us the right answer. So with that, we're done with task 1. We're done with task 2. Also, again, if you're ever doing one of these machines and things like start slowing down really bad, sometimes you just have to restart and terminate the machine and start a new one, and then they'll work better because this machine's working a lot quicker. So now that we're done with that, it's on to task number 3, Windows Security. So according to Microsoft, this is your home to manage the tools that protect your device and your data. So this is what it looks like. So we can just go back here to settings, click on Windows Security down there, and we have something pretty similar to what they have right there. So there you go. Now in the above image, it's gonna give us different categories really for virus and threat protection, firewall and network, app and browser control, and then device security. So we can see all those right here. So we'll take a look at, each of those areas as we move on, but it lets you know green, if you have a little green check mark, that means all is good. If you have a yellow, that means there's a recommendation for you to look at. And then if you have a red, like we have with this virus threat protection in the example on there and on our machine, then it's going to say actions needed. So there's something that we should fix, and we have like a dangerous default set or something like that. So, and then it lets you know the VM is a Windows Server 2019. It looks different from a Windows 10 Home or Professional Edition. So again, with all the different Windows versions they got, sometimes these things will look slightly different, but you should just be able to, in the search bar, go to Windows Security and you'll see these 4 options or something very similar. So in the above image, which needs our immediate attention? That would be virus and threat protection. So let's throw that in. Need a space. Virus and threat protection, that's the correct answer. So with that, we are done with task number 3. Now it's on to task 4, where we'll actually get into virus and threat protection. So it's really divided into 2 parts that you can see here: current threats, and then virus and threat protection settings. So we can see that here. Current threats, they give you scan options, threat history, and then right here they let you know, allow an item to run that has been identified as a threat only if you're 100% sure of what you are doing. So yeah, if Windows says something is sketchy, it probably is, so just be careful. But yeah, take a look at that. We can see those right here. We got scan options under current threats. So if you do that, you got quick scan, full scan, custom scan. You can scan now. You can read about each one of those and what that means. And then virus and threat protection settings, you can also check for updates. They even have this ransomware protection thing, but we'll get into that here in a minute, because first we'll go a bit more into this virus and threat protection settings. So here are the settings pretty much for the most part that you can mess with. So they have real-time protection, which should be turned on. And you can read what that is. It just basically stops malware from messing around on your machine. They have cloud delivery protection, which gives you access to protection data in the cloud and different cloud stuff basically, which we're not going to get into. But then they have this automatic sample submission, which is just if Microsoft does find something on your machine that they think might be malicious, they will take either the file or a small sample of it and they will send it to Microsoft so that they can look at it and confirm that it is, and then that data is also like used in databases, so then it protects other people from that same malware. So that's kind of what the automatic sample submission would do, is it would just automatically send stuff that your computer thinks may be malicious. It'll just automatically send it to Microsoft. But there's other stuff that goes into that, like they make sure to check that you don't have like personal data in there and all that. So I mean, you shouldn't just have this on all the time, because hopefully you just don't get hacked at all and then you don't have anything malicious on your computer. But yeah, you can see that if we go to manage settings, you got real-time protection, which is turned off, cloud delivery, and then right here. So that's automatic sample submission. And then they have controlled folder access, and this basically, what this does is it tells you right there, it protects files, folders, and memory areas on your device from unauthorized changes by applications and whatnot. So you can basically protect files and folders. Then there's exclusions, which basically means, hey, don't scan this item, or you know, you can mark an item as pretty much safe, even if Windows thinks it's dangerous, which is why they give you that warning right there. So don't exclude items unless you know what you're doing, pretty much. Then at the end they have notifications down at the bottom, and you can change those notification settings. So that's virus and threat protection. Then they also let you know that you can check for updates, which we already saw right here. So you can check for updates. And then you have ransomware protection. So ransomware protection, for that to be a thing that you can use, you have to have the controlled folder access feature enabled, and then you can use it. So then they also give you a note about real-time protection. And then they also let you know you can perform on-demand scans on any file or folder. So that's pretty cool. If you have a file or a folder, you can just right-click on it, and then this little menu will pop up, and you can select Scan with Microsoft Defender, and then you can actually scan that individual file or folder. So right here specifically, what is turned off that Windows is notifying you to turn on? That would be virus and threat protection settings, or real-time protection, right? And if we look at that, it has the notification right here. Real-time protection is off, leaving your device vulnerable. So that's the answer to that. So type that in, and that's the correct answer. And with that, you're done with task 4. Next, it's on to task 5, firewall and network protection. So firewall and network protection, we can click on that. We can see kind of all the different stuff that we'll be working with there. So there's 3 settings, really, like 3 big ones that stick out here at the top: the domain network, private network, public network. And hopefully you kind of know what a firewall is, but if you don't, according to Microsoft, traffic flows in and out of devices via what we call ports. A firewall can control what is and what isn't allowed to pass through those ports. So you can think of it like a security guard standing at the door, checking the ID of everyone who tries to enter or exit. So that's what a firewall is. It helps protect our networks, and we can see the 3 different sections right here and what they're for. So there's different profiles that apply to different things. So this one has to do with a domain controller, and then a private, this is like a user assigned profile, and it's a private or home network. Public, this is the default profile that is used for like public networks like Wi-Fi hotspots at coffee shops, airports, or when you're out in public. So then right here, if you click on any of the firewall profiles, another screen will appear with 2 options: turn the firewall on, off, and block all incoming connections. So we'll just pick this one. So here we can turn it off and we can block all incoming connections. So those are those settings they're talking about. So you just click on one of those, and then again, fair warning, don't mess with this unless you know what you're doing. You should just, for the most part, leave your Windows Defender firewall enabled no matter what. So you can also allow an app through the firewall. So if you just go to back to the kind of main Windows security for firewalls, right there, click on allow an app through firewall, and it'll bring up this, and then you can make different selections and edit these and check out the details of specific apps or features. So there's that. Some of the apps will provide additional information. We already checked that out. That's the details button that you can hit. And then you can also go to advanced settings, which will bring up this window. So if I do that, you can check out this window. It's pretty standard for kind of the advanced stuff in Windows. We've seen it before. You have a hierarchy on the far left. You have kind of what's going on in the middle. And then you have different actions that you can take on the right-hand side. So you can check that out. We have inbound rules, outbound rules, and we can select these rules, and then we can take action on them. And we can do quite a few other things in here, but that's advanced settings. We're not going to get into it, so don't worry too much about it. And then they give you a tip. You can open the Windows firewall with the command wf.msc. So now down to the questions. If you were connected to airport Wi-Fi, what most likely will be the active firewall profile? That would be public network. So you can submit that, and that's the correct answer. And I got that just by looking up here and then also reading those definitions down there. So that's where you get that answer. And with that, we're done with task 5. Now it's on to task 6, app and browser control. So in this section, you can change the settings for Microsoft Defender Smart Screen. So Microsoft lets you know the Smart Screen protects against phishing or malware websites and applications and the downloading of potentially malicious files. And then you can check out some of their documentation here. This is what it's going to look like, so we'll check that out just by going to app and browser control. And then you can check apps and files. So it'll check for unrecognized apps and files from the web, and it will warn you. You can switch the settings here to block or just turn it off. They also have exploit protection, which we'll talk about, and we'll kind of get into that. So this is what the Windows Defender Smart Screen kind of looks like usually when it pops up. And then exploit protection, it's built into Windows 10 to help protect your device against attacks. And it has all these system settings, this control flow guard, this data execution prevention, force randomize for images, and then randomized memory allocations. And basically, we're not going to get too deep into it, but this helps prevent devices from being hacked. This can help prevent things like buffer overflows or different overflows attacks and things like that. So this is quite a bit more advanced. So again, don't mess with these unless you are 100% confident in what you're doing. I'm not going to go into each one of these and what they mean. You can just give them a Google if you want to know more. But yeah, this is more advanced stuff. It's important, and at some point you will learn it, but you don't need to know it right this second. So read through that, make sure you've read it, and then answer that. And with that, you're done with task 6. Next, it's on to task 7, device security. So if we click down here, device security, we can kind of look at our options here. And you should mess around, click through, check out the options so you kind of know where to find things if you need it. So again, you'll probably never change any of these settings, but they're going to cover it briefly anyways. So you have core isolation, and it's virtualization based security, and it protects the core parts of your device. You got memory integrity, which prevents attacks from inserting malicious code into high security processes. So this can make it, because a lot of malware wants to take place in the memory of a computer or interact with the memory in a computer. And so there's different things that Microsoft has on by default that make that more difficult. That also has to do with the last section, app and browser control. A lot of that had to do with, memory, some of those things that we can set. But again, Windows has the default set, and the defaults for those are secure. So for the most part, you're never going to change them. And then it lets you know again, don't change anything unless you totally know what you're doing. Another thing is we have the security processor. So if you want to, look into that, you can just search it. If it will load. It's being slow again. Okay, then I'm not going to do it on that machine, but you can just type in like security processor or processor details, and you'll be able to pull up this screen. It'll tell you a little bit about it, and it'll tell you about what is called the Trusted Platform Module, which is the TPM. So this is a security processor, right? And basically, what is a Trusted Platform Module or a TPM? It's a technology that is designed to provide hardware-based security-related functions. So it's an actual physical chip, and it's a secure crypto processor. So it deals with like cryptography, and it's designated to carry out cryptographic operations. And the chip includes multiple physical security mechanisms to make it tamper-resistant. So basically, the TPM, it's a special chip inside your computer that has to do with it does a lot of the cryptographic stuff that your computer needs to do to stay secure. And on top of it, even if somebody got a hold of your computer, there are multiple physical security mechanisms so that it would be difficult to tamper or mess with that TPM chip. So, yeah, it's pretty cool. And because of that, malicious software is usually unable to tamper with this because of that, because it's a tamper resistant, and it's an actual physical part of your computer. So now we'll go down to the questions. What is the TPM? It says right up there, Trusted Platform Module. Submit that. And with that, we are done with task number 7. Now it kind of bothered me that it didn't. Here we go. Security processor. So there's that from the previous task. So that's how you get there. It was kind of driving me nuts that it wasn't just there. So just wanted to prove that yes, you can find it. So with that, on to task 8. What is BitLocker? So BitLocker drive encryption, it's a data protection feature that integrates with the operating system and addresses the threats of data theft or exposure from lost, stolen, or inappropriately decommissioned computers. So on a device with TPM installed, BitLocker offers the best protection. So yeah, you can read about this. It talks about different TPM versions and BitLocker and all that. And that all basically has to do with encryption to protect the data on your computer. And I'm not going to get into details about how that works because you don't need to know that right now. Just know that that's what BitLocker is all about, and that's also a big part of the TPM. And what it does is, it makes sure things can be encrypted and decrypted for security reasons. So, and then they let you know BitLocker is not included in the attached VM, so this feature isn't there. But again, with most things, if you wanted to find it, you could just look up BitLocker, manage BitLocker as an option. So select that. We'll see if it ever opens because this is slow. And then what must a user insert in on computers that do not have a TPM version 1.2 or later. So to find this one, you need to refer to their documentation and read through that. So go through all this, and basically what you'll find, if I can find it, system requirements, TMP, saving a startup key on a removable drive is mandatory when enabling BitLocker. So I don't know why that's not opening up. That's annoying. But the answer to the question is going to be a USB, because that's a removable drive. And then it was, what did they call it specifically? A startup key, right? So it's a USB startup key. So that's what you have to have if you don't have TPM version 1.2 or later. So submit that, and that's the correct answer. With that, you're done with task 8. So now it's on to task 9, volume shadow copy service. So per Microsoft, basically what it is, it creates a consistent shadow copy or a snapshot or just a point in time copy of the data that is to be backed up. So they're stored on the system's volume information folder on each drive that has protection enabled. Short for volume shadow copy service is VSS. You can perform the following tasks from within the advanced settings. You can create a restore point, perform system restore, configure restore settings, or delete restore points. So that's kind of what this looks like. So I'm just going to show you. Bothers me that that's not working. So let's open up the File Explorer. We'll just go to this PC. If I right click here, I can configure shadow copies. And then it gives me some different options here. I can create new, enable, and kind of mess with all that shadow copy stuff. But from a security perspective, it's important to note, malware writers know about this Windows feature, and they write code in their malware that finds these files and deletes them. So when they do that, it then becomes impossible to recover these shadow copies of your system. So this is a cool feature and all, but still, malware writers can get around it pretty easily just by, being able to find them and then delete them. So the only way to really recover from a ransomware attack for sure is you have an offline or offsite backup, right? So this doesn't replace that, but it is a feature that you do need to know about. So you can check that out. And then what is VSS? That stands for Volume Shadow Copy Service. So submit that. That's the correct answer. And with that, you're done with task 9. Now it's on to task 10, which is the conclusion. They'll give you a, quick conclusion. They'll give you some further reading materials. And then also, don't forget, you got to terminate all of your machines. So with that, you can submit the answer, just mark complete, and then you have finished the Windows Fundamentals 3 room from TryHackMe. If you liked the video, if you found it helpful at all, give it a like, subscribe, it helps me out a lot. And with that, we're all done with the Windows Fundamentals 3 room from TryHackMe.